My friends, let's take a deep breath together. Life can be full of challenges, but none of those challenges are as insidious as the toxic people we sometimes encounter. You know the kind. Those who drain your energy, provoke your insecurities, and leave you questioning your worth. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for their behavior. You are not responsible for the way they treat you. What you are responsible for, my dear, is how you respond to them. Recognizing toxicity is the first step in protecting your peace. Toxic people often don't show up with a neon sign over their heads. No, their behavior is often subtle, creeping into your life until one day you look up and realize you're drained, frustrated, or emotionally depleted. The tricky part about toxicity is that it doesn't always feel bad at first. In fact, it might even come in the form of a seemingly harmless comment, a well-meaning piece of advice, or a friendly critique. But when you start paying attention to how those interactions leave you feeling, small, insecure, or unworthy, that's when you need to step back and recognize what's really happening. At the heart of toxicity is the energy exchange. You might notice that after spending time with a certain person, you feel drained or discouraged, even if the conversation didn't seem overtly negative. Toxic people have an uncanny way of draining others without ever raising their voice. They may not shout or even argue, but their words, their attitude, or their actions leave an invisible scar on your emotional well-being. It's like a silent thief that robs you of your energy and leaves you feeling empty. Recognizing this shift in your emotional state is key. When a conversation, even a short one, leaves you questioning your worth or feeling heavy, that's a red flag. One of the most insidious aspects of toxicity is manipulation. Toxic people often try to control situations and emotions to suit their needs. They might use guilt or passive-aggressive behavior to get their way, and before you know it, you're apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. They twist your words, turn your kindness into weakness, and use your vulnerabilities against you. The manipulation might not always be obvious, but it can be just as damaging as overt abuse. When you notice that you're constantly walking on eggshells, wondering if you're saying the right thing, you might be dealing with someone toxic. Gaslighting is another red flag. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where a person makes you doubt your own reality. They may tell you that something you clearly remember didn't happen, or that you're overreacting to their hurtful behavior. They make you question your instincts, your perceptions, and even your own emotions. This is a powerful tactic because it erodes your self-confidence, making you more vulnerable to their control. If you find yourself frequently second-guessing your thoughts or apologizing for your feelings when there's no reason to, you are likely being gaslit. Toxic behavior often thrives on creating a sense of imbalance. Toxic people are rarely willing to take responsibility for their actions. Instead, they blame others for their mistakes, failures, and shortcomings. This projection of blame is a fundamental characteristic of toxicity. They can't admit their faults, and they shift the blame onto you or others around them. This not only distorts reality, but also leaves you feeling perpetually on edge, as though you're constantly trying to fix something that wasn't even your problem to begin with. Toxic people are also masters of creating drama. They seem to thrive in chaos and often find ways to stir up conflict, even over the smallest of issues. They have a way of turning every situation into a crisis, making you feel as though you're always walking through a storm. Whether it's through gossip, stirring up old wounds, or creating misunderstandings, toxic individuals know how to keep things in a constant state of upheaval. This constant instability can leave you feeling emotionally exhausted and can prevent you from finding a sense of calm or peace. Another aspect of recognizing toxicity is understanding how it affects your personal growth. Healthy relationships allow space for growth and change. but toxic relationships keep you stuck in patterns of negativity. These individuals discourage your success, either through jealousy, undermining your accomplishments, or creating doubt in your abilities. They might make you feel like you're not good enough, or try to diminish your achievements. Over time, this stifles your progress and can even convince you to question your own potential. Finally, toxic people have a way of making you feel isolated. They may intentionally or unintentionally undermine your other relationships, making you feel as though you can't trust anyone outside of them. This isolation creates a toxic bubble where the only perspectives you hear are theirs. They may try to pit you against others, making you feel that your friends, family, or even coworkers are against you. When you begin to feel that you're losing touch with reality or that you can no longer rely on your support system, it's crucial to step back and examine the dynamics at play. Setting boundaries is an essential skill for protecting your emotional well-being. Boundaries are not about shutting people out or being unkind. They are about creating a clear space between your needs and the demands of others. When you set boundaries, you are asserting your right to prioritize your own mental, emotional, and physical health. Healthy boundaries communicate that you respect yourself enough to protect your peace and that you expect others to do the same. Boundaries give you the ability to take control over your environment and ensure that you are not allowing anything or anyone to violate your sense of self. For many people, especially those who are compassionate and empathetic, setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable. There is a fear of being perceived as rude or selfish, or even a fear of rejection. But it's important to understand that boundaries are not selfish. They are self-care. Saying no is not a rejection of the other person. It is an affirmation of your own needs. In fact, setting healthy boundaries fosters respect in relationships. When you let others know where you stand, you give them the chance to respect your limits, which can strengthen the relationship rather than diminish it. Boundaries are not just about what you say, but also about what you do. Actions speak louder than words, and consistent behavior is the key to maintaining strong boundaries. When you set a boundary, it's essential to follow through. If you say you need space, take that space. If you say you don't tolerate certain behavior, be firm in your response when it happens. If you don't follow through with your boundaries, you send a message that your limits aren't important, and this opens the door for others to disregard them. It's important to recognize that setting boundaries is a continuous process, not a one-time event. People will test your boundaries, and you will face challenges in maintaining them. This is particularly true in relationships with toxic individuals who thrive on manipulation or guilt tripping. They may try to make you feel bad for standing firm, or they may try to push your limits. It's crucial to remain consistent in enforcing your boundaries, even when faced with resistance. Remember, consistency is key in teaching others how to respect your boundaries. Setting boundaries isn't just about protecting yourself from negative people. It's also about protecting your time and energy. Our lives are filled with numerous demands, and when we allow others to continually take from us, we run the risk of burnout. Boundaries help you allocate time and energy in ways that serve you rather than depleting you. This means saying no to things that aren't aligned with your goals or values, prioritizing your own needs over unnecessary obligations, and carving out time for rest and rejuvenation. Setting boundaries is a necessary act of self-preservation, especially in a world that constantly demands more from us. It's also crucial to understand that boundaries don't have to be harsh or rigid. Healthy boundaries are flexible and can be adjusted as needed. You don't have to create walls between yourself and others. Instead, think of your boundaries as guardrails that help you stay on the path toward emotional health. Some relationships may require firmer boundaries, while others might need a more gentle approach. The key is to remain in tune with yourself and honor what you need in each situation. Listening to your gut and trusting your intuition will guide you in setting the right boundaries. Sometimes setting boundaries means walking away from situations or people who consistently disrespect your limits. It can be hard to let go, especially if you've invested time and energy into a relationship. But when you realize that a relationship is toxic and continuously draining you, it's important to have the courage to detach. Walking away is not an act of defeat. It is an act of reclaiming your personal power. Recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving you is a necessary step toward maintaining your emotional balance. It's okay to outgrow relationships that are no longer healthy for you. One of the most important aspects of setting boundaries is the ability to communicate them clearly and confidently. It's not enough to hope people will respect your limits. You need to vocalize them. Whether it's saying, "I need some alone time," or "I can't take on that extra project right now." Being clear about your boundaries ensures that others understand where you stand. When you express your boundaries, you are teaching others how to treat you. While some may not always be happy with your limits, clear communication helps create a mutual understanding, reducing the chances of misinterpretation and conflict. Choosing empathy over conflict is a powerful practice that can transform not only your relationships, but also your own emotional experience. Conflict often arises when emotions are heightened, misunderstandings take root, or when we feel our needs and perspectives aren't being recognized. But empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, offers an opportunity to diffuse tension before it escalates into full-blown conflict. Instead of reacting from a place of defensiveness or frustration, empathy invites us to pause, listen, and try to see the situation from the other person's perspective. This doesn't mean agreeing with them, but simply acknowledging their feelings and experiences. At the core of empathy is the ability to listen, not just to hear words, but to truly understand the emotion behind them. When someone is upset, their words may be harsh or loaded with intensity, but those words often mask deeper feelings of hurt, fear, or frustration. When we approach these moments with empathy, we're not just reacting to the surface level argument or behavior, we're trying to understand the root cause. By listening with an open heart, we create a space where healing can begin and conflict can be avoided. Empathy helps us become less reactive and more thoughtful in how we respond. Choosing empathy doesn't mean we always have to fix the problem or offer solutions. Sometimes people simply want to be heard. They want to know that their feelings are valid, even if we don't completely agree with their point of view. Offering empathy can be as simple as saying, "I see that you're upset, and I understand why you feel that way." This act of acknowledgement is powerful. It lets the other person know that they're not alone in their feelings, and it softens the edge of conflict, making room for understanding rather than confrontation. By validating their experience, you create a bridge rather than a barrier between you. However, practicing empathy also requires emotional awareness and self-regulation. If we allow ourselves to become swept up in the emotional charge of a situation, we can easily lose sight of the other person's perspective. To choose empathy over conflict, we must first ground ourselves in calmness and clarity. This means taking a deep breath before responding, stepping back from the situation if necessary, and choosing to respond with care rather than reacting out of anger, frustration, or fear. Self-awareness is the key to maintaining empathy, especially in challenging or emotionally charged conversations. Another aspect of empathy is non-judgment. When we're in conflict, it's easy to start making assumptions about the other person's intentions or character. We may label them as difficult or unreasonable based on their actions or words. But empathy invites us to suspend judgment and open our hearts. It reminds us that everyone is dealing with their own internal struggles, and their behavior is often a reflection of their own pain or limitations. By choosing to see the humanity in others, we create space for compassion, which can dissolve much of the tension that leads to conflict. Empathy also fosters better communication. When we approach disagreements with empathy, we shift from a place of competition to collaboration. We're not trying to win the argument or assert our own rightness. Instead, we're seeking understanding and connection. This collaborative approach makes it easier to find common ground, even if we don't completely agree. We can share our own feelings and needs without blaming or accusing the other person. By focusing on mutual respect and understanding, we can transform a potential conflict into a productive, peaceful conversation. Choosing empathy over conflict also requires vulnerability. It's easy to fall into a defensive mode when we feel attacked or misunderstood, but true empathy requires us to lower our guard and open ourselves to the experience of the other person. It means being willing to hear things that might be uncomfortable or challenging without immediately reacting. By being vulnerable, we not only create an opportunity for connection, but we also show the other person that they are worthy of being heard and understood. Vulnerability is a powerful tool in transforming conflict into connection. In addition, empathy doesn't mean accepting toxic behavior or allowing yourself to be mistreated. There's a distinction between understanding where someone is coming from and tolerating harmful actions. Choosing empathy over conflict is about responding with compassion, but also standing firm in your own values and boundaries. You can acknowledge someone's feelings without compromising your own sense of respect and self-worth. Empathy allows us to respond with kindness and understanding while still maintaining the integrity of our own boundaries. Protecting your energy is one of the most important acts of self-care you can practice in today's fast-pacing and often overwhelming world. We all have a finite amount of emotional, mental, and physical energy, and every interaction or experience we have either adds to or drains from that energy. Unfortunately, many people neglect their energy needs, allowing external demands, toxic relationships, and negative environments to take more than they can give. Protecting your energy means becoming intentional about where you invest it and learning to preserve it when it's under attack. This is essential for your overall well-being and personal growth. One of the first steps in protecting your energy is learning to recognize when it's being drained. This is not always an obvious process. Sometimes the effects are subtle, creeping up on you over time. It could be a lingering sense of fatigue, feeling emotionally spent after certain interactions, or noticing that you're becoming irritable or anxious more often. Understanding the signs of energy depletion is the first step in reclaiming your power. If a conversation or situation consistently leaves you feeling drained or ungrounded, that's a clear signal that something needs to change. It's important to understand that protecting your energy is not about isolating yourself or avoiding difficult situations altogether. Rather, it's about managing your exposure to negative or draining influences in a way that allows you to maintain your peace. This can mean setting boundaries with people who drain you, limiting your involvement in toxic environments, or even walking away from situations that threaten to steal your calm. The goal is not to shut out the world, but to selectively engage with it in a way that respects your emotional limits and maintains your inner equilibrium. Another key aspect of protecting your energy is learning to say no. Many people struggle with saying no because they fear disappointing others or feel obligated to always be there for everyone. However, constantly saying yes when you're already stretched too thin only depletes your energy further. Saying no is an act of self-respect and a necessary part of protecting your peace. It is not about being selfish. It's about knowing your limits and honoring them. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you say yes to your own well-being. In addition to saying no, it's vital to cultivate a strong sense of emotional awareness. This means regularly checking in with yourself to assess how certain people, activities, or environments are affecting your energy. Are you feeling drained, inspired, anxious, or at peace? These emotions are clues to what is happening on a deeper level. By acknowledging how situations impact you emotionally, you empower yourself to make conscious choices about where you invest your time and energy. Emotional awareness helps you take responsibility for your energy, rather than allowing external forces to dictate your emotional state. Protecting your energy also involves cultivating positive habits and environments that nourish you. Just as you protect your physical body by eating nutritious food and getting enough rest, your emotional and mental energy needs nourishment as well. This could be anything from spending time in nature, practicing mindfulness, engaging in activities that bring you joy, or surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support you. You cannot protect your energy if you're constantly in environments or relationships that are toxic or draining. Invest in those that energize and inspire you, and make space for activities that nurture your soul. Sometimes, protecting your energy means learning to detach from situations and people that are out of your control. In today's world, we often feel obligated to be emotionally invested in everything around us, whether it's the constant news cycle, a friend's drama, or a workplace conflict. However, when we try to carry the weight of everything around us, we quickly deplete ourselves. It's important to remember that you don't have to solve every problem, fix every issue, or carry the emotional burden of every person in your life. Detaching from what you cannot control gives you the freedom to conserve your energy and focus on what truly matters. Lastly, protecting your energy involves practicing forgiveness, not for others but for yourself. Holding on to grudges, resentment, or unresolved emotions can drain your energy in ways you may not even realize. When we stay attached to past hurts, we give our energy to situations and people who no longer deserve it. Letting go of past grievances doesn't mean forgetting or excusing harmful behavior. It means releasing the emotional weight that is keeping you stuck. Forgiveness allows you to free your energy so you can move forward with clarity and peace. Empowerment through detachment is a powerful practice that enables you to reclaim control over your life and emotions. Detachment is not about abandoning people or shutting them out. Rather, it's about letting go of the emotional attachment that keeps you tethered to situations and people who do not serve your highest good. It's about understanding that you have the right to choose where you invest your emotional energy and refusing to allow negative forces or toxic relationships to dominate your life. Through detachment, you protect your emotional health and create space for growth and clarity. At its core, detachment involves releasing the need for approval or validation from others. Many of us spend a significant amount of time seeking external affirmation, whether from family, friends, coworkers, or society. We base our self-worth on how others perceive us, which can lead to insecurity and self-doubt. Detachment empowers you to stop seeking validation from the outside world and instead find your sense of self-worth from within. By releasing the need for constant external validation, you can finally stand firm in your own identity and values, free from the pressure of others' opinions. Detachment also frees you from the grip of negative emotions. When you are emotionally attached to a situation or person, you often find yourself caught in a cycle of emotional highs and lows, constantly reacting to external events. This emotional roller coaster can be exhausting and mentally draining. Detachment allows you to observe situations without becoming emotionally entangled in them. You can acknowledge your feelings without letting them control your actions or mindset. By creating this emotional distance, you gain the power to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. And this brings a sense of peace and balance. Letting go through detachment also helps you regain your personal power. When you're emotionally attached to someone or something, you may find yourself giving up your autonomy and peace in order to maintain that connection or situation. This can lead to feelings of powerlessness as you surrender your emotional well-being to external circumstances. Detachment, on the other hand, empowers you to take back control of your emotional state. You realize that your happiness and peace are within your control, not dependent on another person or outcome. You no longer give away your power to others or situations that don't align with your well-being. Through detachment, you also create room for personal growth. When you are deeply emotionally attached to people, situations, or outcomes, you may find it difficult to move forward or grow. Attachment keeps you stuck in patterns and relationships that no longer serve you. Detachment, however, creates space for new opportunities and experiences to enter your life. It allows you to step back, reflect, and assess whether the people and situations in your life are contributing to your growth or hindering it. By letting go of what no longer serves you, you create the freedom to evolve into the person you are meant to be. Detachment is also about prioritizing your own needs and well-being. Often, we stay attached to relationships or situations because we feel a sense of obligation or guilt. We fear that if we let go, we will hurt others or be seen as selfish. However, true empowerment comes when we put ourselves first. This doesn't mean neglecting others, but rather recognizing that you cannot give to others when you are emotionally depleted. Detachment allows you to take a step back and ensure that your own needs are met, without feeling guilty or selfish for doing so. Sometimes detachment requires difficult decisions, especially when it involves letting go of toxic relationships or environments. It can be painful to detach from people you care about, especially when there is a history or emotional bond involved. But it's important to remember that detachment is an act of self-preservation, not a rejection of the other person. When a relationship is unhealthy, staying attached to it only brings more pain and suffering. Detachment allows you to break free from toxic patterns, preserving your peace and emotional health. It also opens the door to healthier, more supportive relationships that align with your values and growth. Finally, detachment teaches you to trust the flow of life. When we are overly attached to specific outcomes or people, we create expectations that can lead to disappointment and frustration when things don't go as planned. Detachment, however, invites you to trust in the process of life and surrender the need for control. You begin to understand that not everything is meant to last forever, and that sometimes letting go is the best thing for your growth. Through detachment, you cultivate trust in the universe and in your ability to navigate life with grace and confidence, knowing that you are always exactly where you need to be. Leading with love is a transformative approach to leadership that transcends traditional methods focused on authority, control, and power. At its core, leading with love means making decisions and guiding others through compassion, empathy, and understanding. It's about creating an environment where people feel valued, respected, and supported, rather than simply following rules or meeting expectations. When love is the foundation of leadership, it fosters trust, loyalty, and a deep sense of connection within teams or communities. This form of leadership doesn't rely on fear or manipulation. Instead, it inspires others to act with integrity, creativity, and passion. One of the hallmarks of leading with love is the ability to listen deeply to others. When leaders lead with love, they actively listen to their team members, valuing their input and opinions. This kind of listening goes beyond hearing words. It involves tuning into emotions, motivations, and concerns, recognizing that every individual brings unique perspectives to the table. By listening with an open heart, leaders not only build trust, but also empower their teams to feel heard and understood. This strengthens relationships and makes people feel like they are an integral part of the decision-making process. Leading with love also involves nurturing the growth of others. Love in leadership is about lifting people up, encouraging their development, and celebrating their successes. It's not about holding others back or using power to maintain dominance, but rather about empowering people to reach their full potential. When leaders lead with love, they invest time and resources into helping others grow, both personally and professionally. This can mean offering mentorship, creating opportunities for learning, and providing constructive feedback that builds confidence and skill. A leader who leads with love sees the success of others as their own success. In the context of leadership, love also means having the courage to be vulnerable. Leaders who lead with love aren't afraid to show their true selves. They admit their mistakes, ask for help when needed, and create an atmosphere of psychological safety where others feel comfortable being open and authentic. Vulnerability in leadership is not a weakness. Rather, it's a strength that humanizes the leader and makes them more relatable. When a leader can admit their imperfections and show empathy for others, it creates a culture of trust where people feel comfortable taking risks, sharing their ideas, and collaborating freely. Leading with love also requires a deep commitment to serving others. Love-based leadership is about prioritizing the well-being and success of those you lead over personal gain or recognition. A love-centered leader seeks to empower others by meeting their needs, removing obstacles, and providing support without expecting anything in return. It's about showing up for your team in both good times and bad, offering guidance and reassurance when things get tough. This kind of leadership builds strong, resilient communities where people feel supported, encouraged, and cared for, even during challenging circumstances. Another important aspect of leading with love is modeling kindness and respect. Love in leadership isn't just about making others feel good. It's about consistently demonstrating compassion and respect in all interactions. When leaders treat others with kindness, they set the tone for the entire team or organization. This creates a positive and supportive culture where people are more likely to act with the same generosity and thoughtfulness toward one another. Leading by example is one of the most powerful ways to inspire love and respect in others. Furthermore, leading with love involves creating a sense of belonging. A love-driven leader strives to build an environment where everyone feels included, appreciated, and valued. This means embracing diversity, fostering collaboration, and making sure that each person's voice is heard and respected. When people feel like they belong, they are more motivated to contribute, share their ideas, and engage fully with the mission at hand. Creating a culture of inclusion is essential to leading with love, as it nurtures a sense of community where everyone is encouraged to bring their best selves to the table. Finally, leading with love encourages resilience and compassion, both within oneself and in others. Love-based leadership understands that setbacks, failures, and challenges are part of the journey, and it's through love and support that people are able to rise stronger from adversity. Leaders who lead with love inspire resilience by offering compassion and encouragement, reminding their teams that failure is not the end, but but a stepping stone to growth. In difficult times, love becomes a source of strength, enabling individuals to overcome obstacles and stay focused on the bigger picture. When leaders model resilience with love, they empower others to do the same.